Well, welcome to Show Me Your Hustle. Today I am sitting down with Rick, and I'm so excited to learn more about you today. And as a reminder, this podcast is for us to unpack the mindset, strategy, and hustle of startup CEOs, founders, and exiters. So, with all that, Rick, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, Ashley, thanks for having me. My name is Rick Gouveia. I'm CEO of SellBigger. We are an AI sales engagement platform. We built a platform to help uh, founders, CEOs go to market faster using AI, consolidate all their outreach tools, inbound and outbound, and book more meetings and create more leads.
Awesome. Well, I am so excited to dive in, especially AI is the hottest topic in tech right now. So, with that, let's talk about your stack breakdown. So, maybe give me a few of your personal stack items like books, habits, systems, like what drives your hustle?
Okay, great question. Maybe about 14 years ago, I worked with a guy named Frank Slootman, the author of a book called Amp It Up, CEO of ServiceNow and Snowflake. If I oftentimes tell people there's no Frank Slootman, there's probably no SellBigger or Rick Gouveia. So he showed me how to develop the hustle. His book Amp It Up is one of my favorites. You can almost feel the anxiety just saying the words Amp It Up. But basically, he removes the slack from organizations. You move faster, you make decisions faster. The better you get at making decisions, or the more decisions you make, the better you get at making them.
Yeah.
Start now type of attitude. There's a few other books in AI. AI Superpowers helps me understand, you know, the hierarchy of AI, who holds the superpowers and where we got to go to get it and get good
Hmm.
AI. And that keeps evolving. It used to be kind of a hidden currency, but it's pretty apparent now.
Right.
Grok, Facebook today, I forget what it's called, DeepSeek or just came out, but these companies have the data and the AI that we go out and build our apps to and tie the APIs into. So
Awesome.
um, those things like that. Other obvious books, The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, Good to Great, Zero to One, those types of books I'll read quite a bit. And then I'll get off into fiction and stuff like that.
You gotta like
Uh,
release your mind from constant tech, right? So,
yeah, exactly. I do enjoy fiction books and I exercise quite a bit outside of work. I took up an exercise medium called rucking. It's basically carrying a heavy sack, 30 pounds on your back or your chest, and then hiking in the hills. You get a team together and you basically do compass navigation every Saturday, and it's a great workout if running's not in your
yeah,
repertoire, and it also uses all your muscles. So
totally. I love that. You
yeah,
must I live in Salt Lake City and it is snowing 7 months of the year. So,
yeah, that could be
awesome.
cold. I'll wear like clamp-ons on my tennis shoes when it's snowing or frosty. But if it gets
Mhm.
like below 20, it could be painful
Yeah, sounds
outside.
like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so that's personal stack. What about your team stack? What does your team or company use that you feel is a non-negotiable tech stack tool?
Oh, wow. We have a lot. So AI number one, we'll
Hmm.
refer in the early days, we started working with primarily ChatGPT, the paid
Yeah.
version, and then we've also added in Gemini
Hmm.
for various reasons, but it's the solid number two for us. And our API, our application ties into both ChatGPT and Gemini. So if the latency on one is slow, we'll switch to the other. That doesn't happen very often, but we do have that capability, and then we'll use it for email. I think
Hmm.
email is still predominant with us. Slack, we give every one of our customers a Slack work group so that we
Yeah.
keep their data separate and we can still communicate with them pretty quickly. We're a small, nimble company where we haven't set up a ticketing system yet, but if we did, we would probably use it out of Slack, and then that connects to our Salesforce.
Hmm.
So those are the
Yeah.
main offerings we use along with our application.
Awesome. All right.
Um,
I love that. I last
that
year, uh,
I definitely couldn't live without Slack. I don't
oh,
even
for
know.
sure. I
I
think
know
Slack is a
it probably
standard.
sounds a little cliche at this point, but once I learned how to figure it out, put some workflows in, once I learned it in depth, in the beginning, it could be a little daunting, but once we added work groups, and now I look at it every day, and I have pictures of all my clients
Yeah.
in each work group symbol, so
Yeah,
it makes it kind of fun too. So if
totally.
Ashley was a customer, I'd have your photo, and I'd be able to see, oh, Ashley's got a question, we go answer it
Right. We I
pretty
at
quickly.
Super too, we use Slack internally as well, and it's obviously the tool I spend the absolute most amount of time in. So, um, all right. Well, thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about this is my favorite question to learn from founders. Um, what was your big pivot? So all founders have that moment where they're like, shoot, stuff's not working. I have to pivot, or it's like that sink or swim moment. Do you have an example or a think back to when that happened to you?
Definitely. So, we were a couple of years in, we were a people as a service organization. We basically sold sales development reps as a service. They come at a
Mm,
premium. We would give them all the tools they
interesting.
need. So if you were building a team in house, and
Yeah,
to preface this with a little bit, we worked primarily with seed funded through Series B and sometimes C companies. After C, you pretty much should be looking at building your own in-house team, right? Bringing
right.
on a person and building it out. But we would help these companies go to market, and we would give them access to things that they couldn't, like Slack or Salesforce Enterprise, an AI-driven dialer, lead lists. All those
Hmm.
things can staff, invoice you to death as an early stage company. Um, each one of those bills is in the thousands. So we combine them all together and charge you monthly. And that worked great. We grew up to, about 100 sales development reps for hire. And and then I think in March of 2023, Silicon Valley Bank collapsed here in the Bay Area,
Hmm.
along with First Republic. And almost overnight, we lost 5 customers instantly. A couple of them had their first round in Silicon Valley Bank, and their second round was in First Republic, and they both were
Yeah.
gone the next day, right? Um,
Totally, totally. I forgot
and
about that.
and having those conversations, so I really
Oh,
learned to respect startup founders, a, 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 especially our clients, right? So we
right.
had those tough conversations. Hey, Rick, I can remember one vividly. All our funding's gone. Well, you had a couple rounds. Yeah, the first round was stuck in Silicon Valley Bank, and the second round's in First Republic. And guess what? They're both gone. And we'll get that. We're
Mm,
likely to get them back, but it's not going to be like this month. And they
right.
ended up getting it back, and they're still around, but a couple of them are not. And what we realized is paying a premium for our service was probably no longer an option in C through Series B, because not only were the VCs really not going to support, you know, giving money for the sole purpose of building an inside sales organization or even an outside sales organization anymore. They
Right.
wanted you to do more with less, and primarily focus on product marketing, or yeah, product management and engineering with the dollars that they were given. And that just happened to be the sign of the time. So we
Right.
pivoted to AI. ChatGPT came out, um, and we thought, hey, what could we do with this application? And it turns out you can do quite a bit. And we were already familiar with Twilio. We had a web-based application that we'd been selling alongside our
Hmm.
services, which automated LinkedIn email outreach. And then Twilio launched an API that tied into Gemini and ChatGPT. So we added it in, and it didn't work great. We had to convince people to take some risks with us early on. There was a lot of latency. It wasn't that the AI didn't work; it was the latency.
Mm,
So
interesting.
if you can imagine 6-second latency, it'd be like, "Hi, Ashley,"
Oh
and
gosh.
then you'd get a response, right?
Right, right.
So that was February of 2024, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
then in June, they came out with basically 3.0.
Hmm.
We have the roadmap. I kept pretty good tabs on it. And 3.0 latency dropped down to 200 milliseconds. All of a sudden, it started working. It started speaking 60 different languages. It started having multiple voices. And then we had to go headstrong into automations, which is more like
Hmm.
Zapier, MuleSoft, Boomi. So I
Right.
always say AI is artificial, not automatic. And you have to really have both in an organization to build out an AI product. You have to have
Right.
AI that works and automations that connect it to things like Salesforce, Slack. Otherwise, really all you're doing is making more work for yourself
Right.
until you can automate it with Zapier is a big boom for us too. We use that every day. Zaps is what they're called. So you basically
Yeah.
create a Zap to tell me that Ashley's got a meeting and it's with this person, and it automatically sends out an email to you telling you who you're meeting with so that you're not blindsided, maybe prep, that type of thing. So
Right.
um, that's when we knew is essentially in 2023, Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic kind of went
Hmm.
under. We predominantly dealt in the West.
Yeah.
We're a West Coast based company. We are headquartered in Helena, Montana, but we did everything west of Montana
Right.
and some Canada. So we felt it really hard. And as I went to SaaSify, I went to these meetings, is like the way people are being billed is changing. And so we had
Hmm.
to, we changed to AI for a lot of the services. We were able to take our top SDRs and convert them over into SDR managers that can handle 10 to 20 AI agents
Hmm.
themselves today. And for the most part, they're a lot
Yeah.
happier. The outcomes are happier. Um, and they were happy to learn additional uh, capabilities with regards to AI and the stuff
That's
that we do.
awesome.
All of them will have a job forever. It's pretty powerful.
Right.
Versus just doing cold calling, outbound cold calling, read a script and call people and try and book a meeting. It's a little harder
Oh, yeah. Yes.
uh, to grow your
Right.
career. And so,
Right. That makes sense. That's awesome story. I love that. What what would be your advice for early startup founders then? With that knowing your pivot and your experience, like when you meet with a founder for the first time, like maybe bootstrap early series A, what's your advice?
well, right off the cuff, I would say, hey, the path always reveals itself. If you pay attention, the path will reveal itself. We knew we could have ignored our clients that said, hey, I can't pay you this much every month anymore. You're going to have to be more of a consumption model or a performance model, right?
Mhm.
We'll pay you by the meeting or we'll pay you by the minute. And we could have ignored that and continued, but we already saw that that was suffering. And
Right.
we had actually seen it start to happen even before, but we didn't pay attention to it. And then
Hmm.
something else came up. ChatGPT launched on the scene we weren't really paying attention. We had been working on
Right.
AI since 2019. It all of a sudden emerged. So the path kind of reveals itself to you. Um, I'm not always saying that. I'm not going to say that that path is always the best path, or a good path. It might be, hey, it should be the next evolution in your company. Um,
Right.
If it's not, though, you might have not paid attention for too long. So pay attention. The path will reveal itself is something I tend to
Mm.
say a lot to my team. And it has so far. We've been pretty, we work hard to develop our luck.
Yeah.
But, we also have a playbook that creates our success for us. And
Right.
we talk to our customers a lot, and they're the ones that will kind of identify what a new path might start to be looking like. And then if you hear it twice, it's a trend. So we write those things down, and then we follow that advice for the most part. Um, I'm not going to jump off a bridge or anything, but if
Yeah.
customers say, hey, you should try a consumption model based on minutes, let's give it a shot.
Right.
What could it hurt? We're a small company. Let's do it. And we did it and it worked. And I thought it was fantastic and I still do. So it's really easy
I
to
love it.
charge by the minute. And,
Hmm.
and the other thing is it ties right into our AI usage. So we don't pay for weekends and holidays and after hours and stuff. We turn it off. So pay for 8 hours a day, just like
Right.
you would a human,
Right.
but at a fraction of the cost. So it drives the cost down pretty significantly.
Totally. That makes sense. That's awesome. I love that. I wrote down some really great quotes there, so thanks for sharing that. What
Yeah, thank you.
startup are you following right now? Like what's hot in your industry?
Well, I follow our competition, and there's, so that's probably
Hmm.
not a good answer, but I pay attention to them the most, their launches. And then I'm also intrigued by these enterprise companies that are having to, in a way act like, or at least a portion of their business acts like a startup because they're launching with AI. Even
Right.
Salesforce, AI agents is huge for them. And it was a huge
Hmm.
launch. They have the audience. So it's not like they're a startup, but it is a new business for them. And sometimes I find myself chuckling because I already have the answers. I've already seen it. And they're just now, this
Yeah,
big behemoth of a $35 billion company is just now getting these questions asked. ServiceNow is the same way, but if I had to like target things, Canva is a really cool company to watch how they
totally.
um,
I
are just changing the game for everybody.
Yes, I hear that all the
So
time from CEOs. So,
really, okay.
yeah.
Well, I thought I might be the only one, but there's a couple others. Like I said, though, when I read the news at night, I'm always interested in seeing how these big companies are pivoting themselves into AI,
Hmm.
and that portion of their company has to be more nimble than the bigger self.
Yeah.
So they're kind of a startup within a big company,
Yeah.
and you see that across the board now. And we're just keeping track. Now, my competitors, I'm not ashamed to admit them. The number one is Qualified.com. They just launched their newest inbound version of an
Hmm.
AI agent, which is pretty cool. Um,
Right.
and I think that they're still seeing some of the things that we've already experienced and moved on from. Their pricing
Totally.
model may or may not resonate with people. I don't know. That's up for grabs right now. Nadella is saying SaaS models are dead. That's a
Yeah.
pretty compelling person
Yeah.
saying something pretty
I
compelling for his
Right.
business.
I read that last night, that article actually. So interesting. I was like, I need to
Well,
digest this.
it has a huge effect even on his, right?
Hmm.
Their biggest Office 365 online is like a SaaS model. That has a huge
Right.
effect on
Right.
even their if they go to API calls or how they're going to run it. It's interesting to see and hear. When Satya Nadella speak, you got to kind of listen.
Totally.
It's not a trivial statement. He has the view. He has a view of thousands of customers, not tens like I do. So
Right.
pretty
Right.
impressive.
For sure. I want to ask you one more just fun question before we wrap up. What would your 10-year-old self think about your job right now?
My 10-year-old self definitely had a picture of what he wanted to do when he got older. And,
Hmm.
I, knowing that I couldn't sit still and I had to always talk, he probably would laugh that, we're dealing with voice and AI and conversational AI.
Hmm.
And probably think that's a natural tendency. As long as I'm still getting outdoors and exercising, I think he
Yeah,
would be pretty happy. He wouldn't be surprised. So,
I love
um,
that. That's
that's my
awesome.
take. I was big on exercise my entire life and getting outdoors and backpacking and woods and hikes and stuff like that. And then also I just couldn't sit still. I don't know. You know,
Yeah,
I think they call it ADHD now. I think back then it was just normal.
I love it.
Uh,
Totally. Well,
all right.
Rick, thank you so much. It was really nice chatting with you, and I'm so excited to watch what SellBigger is doing. And just excited to see what 2025 brings for the AI industry, for tech, for SaaS, all of it. So,
Yeah, me too. Thank you for having me, Ashley. It was my pleasure to be here. I really appreciate your time too.